All right, guys, so welcome back. So as I was saying before, we will now have to decide where to position our x-axis so that we can accommodate all the negative values from -1 to -11, right? So we want all of these values from -1 to -11 to be below the x-axis. Right, so in that case, what we want to do, if we're deciding that we're going to use a centimeter, remember these medium squares are the centimeters. If we're going to use these centimeters for a scale, we want to go down so that we can accommodate down to -11. Now, if we try to count, let's say from here, and we count -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, not going to work. So it means that 1 centimeter would not be enough to draw a scale down to -11. So what we want to do then, instead of using 1 centimeter to be 1 unit on the y, we may want to use 1 centimeter to be 2 units on the y. So we, from here now, so if we go down, counting by 2, so we would have -2. All right, sorry, yeah. Counting by 2, we have -2. So we would start off here as 0, then -2, and then now we go to the next one, which would be -4. The next one we would go to would be -6. Next one would be -8. Then we would go -10. Then now we will go, the next one would be -12. All right, so what you have to be careful now is with your scale. So once you're drawing your scale or you're calculating your scale, you should be able to accommodate all your values. If you're not, that means you need to change your scale. So this one would be -12. And then now we could have -y down here. Now, the same scale that we use below the x-axis is the same scale that we have to continue with above the x-axis. So from 0, we're counting down by 2. So from 0, we have to count going above by 2, just the same. So we would go 2, 2, then 4. Now notice that the highest value that we have for the y value is +3. So we don't really need to go any further above. So this scale on the y-axis can accommodate all the values for the y in the table. All right, so it means then now our horizontal line, our x-axis would have to be placed here. Oops. We'd have to place our, let me see if I can get this accurate, guys. We'd have to place our x-axis right across here, right? And then now, we now label on our x-axis. So our scale on our x-axis will be different from the scale on the y. So we would have 1, positive 1 to the right, then positive 2, then positive 3. And remember, we are going all the way up to 4. So out here, we would have positive 4. All right, so remember now we can put on our arrow tip on our axis. Now to the left side of our x-axis here, we would have -1 for this first position here, we would have -1. So we would have -1, -2, -3. Now, our x-axis start from -3 up to +4. So if you want, you could put -4 to the end here. All right, and this is our arrow tip here. So we would label our axis. So this would be our positive x. Over here would be our negative x. Below would be our negative y, and above would be our positive y. All right. Now, once we have calculated our scale, then we need to write down our scale. So on our x-axis, you notice that we are using 1 centimeter to be 1 unit on our x-axis. So you need to write your scale for your x and your y-axis. So for the x-axis, so the scale would be so x is equal to I would say 1 centimeter equal to 1 unit on the x-axis. All right. And then now you could have on the y-axis 1 centimeter equals to 2 units on the y-axis. All right. So you write your scale. So make sure you write in your scale to show what your graph is using. So our next step now is to plot our graph by plotting the corresponding x and y values. So we see that when x is -3, y is -11. So we go across on the x-axis to look for -3. Now we're going down to -11. So we go across -3 and we come all the way down to -11. Now notice though that if we are counting down by 2 for each of these centimeter, then halfway between the centimeter box, you would have 1, right? So you come down -2, -4, -6, -8, -10. But we have to now find halfway between the centimeter box from 10 to 12. Halfway between that now would be right here. So we have 5 boxes. So we pick out the middle box and find the middle of it. Is that clear to everyone? So here would be in the middle of this centimeter box. And that's where we would put our mark. And then now we would label x equal -3. And we have y equal to -11. All right. And so we keep doing that for all of our values. So the next one would be -2 and -9. So we go to the -2, come down negative. So we have x equal -2, then we're coming down -2, -4, -6, -8, and halfway between 8 and 10, we would have 9. So it would be right here. And then we label our point there as -2, x equal -2, and y would be -9. All right. Now the next value would be -1 with -9. Sorry, -1 with -7. So we go negative x value, -1, come down 2, 4, 6. Now halfway between 6 and 8, we would have 7. So we go to the middle box between 6 and 8. And that's where we have 7. So here now we would label this -1, x equal -1, and y equal -7. All right. So we would label that for that point. Now the next one would be x equals 0. Now x equals 0 going to fall on the y-axis. So x equals 0 would be here, and you're coming down -5. So x equals 0 is right here where the two axes intersect. But you want to come down on the y-axis -5, so you come down 2, 4, and between 4 and 6, halfway between 4 and 6, you would have 5. So you find the middle box, which is right here. And then you mark your point. And so this now would give you 0, x equals 0, and y equal -5. And now for when x equal 1, now you have y equal -3. So for your x value, you go to +1, y going to be -3. So you go where you have 1, then you come down below the axis now, 2, 4, but you want to come down at -3. So -3 fall between -2 and -4. Which is the middle box between -2 and 4. So it's right here. So now you label that point, x equal 1. And you have -3, y equal -3. And then now you will next have x equal 2 and y equal -1. Now you go to 2, and between 0 and 2, you would have -1. So you go in the middle of that centimeter box. So x equal 2, y equal -1 would be right here. So x equal 2. Y equal -1, and that would give you your point there. So the next one is when x equals 3, y is equal to 1. When x equals 3, now we're going up now because we are dealing with +1, so we're going above. So between 0 and +2 would be 1, so you're coming right here in the middle of the centimeter box here. And then now you label your point, x equals 3 and y equal 1. And then now for the last point, x equal to 4, you go all the way out to 4, and then you're going up 3 places in the positive. So you're going to go 4, x equal 4, then you move up 2, and then 4. But between 2 and 4, you have 3 right in the middle there. So this is where that point would be. So you have now x equal to 4 and y is equal to positive 3. All right. Now, as I had mentioned before, that this graph will generally give you a straight line. Right? So all you'll have to do afterwards now is to just connect all your points together by using a ruler, right? So if you use a ruler, your line should go straight through all your points. All right. Now, if your line is not going through all your points, it means that you would have done something wrong in terms of your location of your points. All right. And so your graph should look like that. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do now, I want you to use your graph paper and draw this graph on the graph paper. When you're finished, when you finish drawing the graph, I want to see a picture of it. Take a picture of it and send it in the WhatsApp chat so that I can look at it. Now, I asked you guys to do that yesterday, and it's only 2 persons that have done it. But if I'm not seeing your graph paper, guys, I won't be able to correct your mistakes. So I need to see your graph. So please, guys, do the graph, take a picture of it, send it to my personal, don't send it in the group, but send it to my personal WhatsApp number. All right, guys, so I'll give you about 10 minutes to plot your graph and then now take a picture of it and send it to me. All right, guys. Let me see the hands of those who understand clearly as to what we are doing and what to do. All right, Ms. Brown. Who else? Anybody else? Is everybody else okay with the graph? Let's weigh some. Ms. Cavero, how about you? I'm not hearing you, Ms. Cavero. You're breaking up. Okay. So, Mr. Adams, it's been a while. Are you familiar with what we're doing?
No, not really.
Oh, actually, we're doing graph. We started this topic yesterday. I have not posted the videos from yesterday yet, but hopefully by tomorrow I'll be able to do so. All right. Yeah. But we are plotting graph and it requires you to have some graph papers. So I don't know if you could just invest and buy a set of graph sheets. About 50 would be enough. You don't need any more than that for maybe for the entire rest of the classes. All right, we will use graph paper again, apart from this topic. We'll use it when we're doing transformation and all these things. So it's worthwhile just to buy a pack of 50. All right. All right, so for now, those of you who are following, you can go ahead, plot a graph, and then I'll look at it after you send me that picture. All right. Escavero, question?
I'll send the picture tomorrow. I can't find a ruler right now.
All right, you may do that tomorrow, but um, if you can't find a ruler, just find something straight on this Cabrera. It's good when I give you immediate feedback because you will know exactly what you're doing wrong and be able to correct it. All right. So just try to find something straight that can draw a straight line. You can even use a book cover. All right. Try it, Miss Cabrera. All right, guys. I've only received one graph so far. Let's weigh some. How far are you now?
Sir, I'm not home as yet, so when I'm home, I'll complete mine.
Okay, Ms. Cabrera, were you able to find any book cover to draw a straight line?
Yeah, I just need to like plot the points.
Okay. Miss Montgomery, are you drawing the graph? Ms. Dorothy, are you drawing the graph?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, one of the things that you should do after you have drawn your line, you should write the equation beside the line to indicate that that is the equation that you use for the table. So in terms of the equation for this line, the equation would be y equal to 2x minus 5. All right, because that was the equation that you used to calculate the values in the table. And so when you plot the graph, that line, that straight line represents that graph of that equation, y equal to x minus 5. All right. All right. I'm not going to spend the entire night on this. So I'm just going to give probably just a few more minutes for those who are still working. And then I'm going to continue. All right. All right, guys. For those of you who are not aware, this table that is in green is not a part of anything that we are doing for this graph. All right. So note that this is not the table that we are working with. The table that we are working with is actually this table that we have up here. All right. All right, guys. So I'm going to move on from this page now. So if you have not yet completed the graph, try and complete it and send me a photo of it by the latest tomorrow. For those of you who need to take a screenshot of what is on the slide, you may do so before I clear it. All right, guys, just give me a, raise your hand when you're through taking a screenshot of this slide. All right, anybody else? Everybody have a screenshot of this slide? Miss Mr. Adams, you get a screenshot? Miss,
No, sir. This device that I'm using is a new device, and I haven't figured it out yet. It's not doing it the way it normally works for me on the old one.
all right, no problem. It will be on the video anyways, but I'm just going to clear this and move on. Anybody else taking a screenshot? Miss Montgomery? All right, so moving on, guys. I'm going to clear this screen now. All right, so I'm going back to where we were. So this was the equation that we were just now drawing a graph for. And so, no, not this equation, really. Sorry, this was the equation that we were just doing the graph for. So this was the table that we were using just now to plot that graph. And then now we would have had our graph looking something like this, which is a straight line. And then if you don't have a straight line, it means that you need to check your points, all right? All right, guys. Now, graph of the first degree.